Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Lisa Arnold, professional portrait photographer and podcast host of How Do You Want to Be Seen? Hi, everyone. I'm Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I am with...
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, it's a pleasure to have Lisa Arnold with us. She's a professional portrait photographer and also podcast host of How Do You Want to Be Seen? And just a lovely lady that I've met already twice before. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to meet you, Roy, and nice being back with you, Lorianne.
So how do you want to be seen? How did you come up with that?
I've been a portrait photographer for a while, started with weddings like every photographer. And as I've seen women struggle to be in front of the camera, and women who are typically just lovely people, we can converse all day long, but as soon as they see the camera come up, I see the pain. So I started thinking, how can I show them how beautiful they are? And I would ask the question like, well, how do you want to be photographed? And I realized, for one, they don't want to be photographed. That it's an emotionally painful, stressful situation. And even if they did want to be photographed, they don't know how, otherwise they wouldn't hire me. So I had to hone what my intention was, and that was more about, well, how do you want to be seen? And that doesn't mean what do you want to look like, but what is it about you that you want people to know? Because once I have that, I can reflect that back to you, and that to me is your portrait. So the question has just been built to really produce beautiful portraits of beautiful people. And because of the conversations that have resulted, I thought, oh, I want to share these conversations and these people with everybody I know. So I started a podcast under the same theme.
So do your people that you photograph, that you finally have captured, their essence, so to speak, you bring them on your podcast?
Sometimes, yeah. I've had clients, there's been the crossover.
Is that hard to do? Is it hard to get them to go on your podcast?
Not as hard as it is to be comfortable in front of the camera, no. Because by the time we work together on the podcast, we've developed a rapport, and my goal would be to gain their trust and to let them know that really I want to reflect everything good I see in them. So then it's just a matter of having a conversation. Once we sit down and record a podcast, it's just a conversation. Yeah, the portraits are much more emotional for them, certainly.
That's interesting, because I know most people don't like a picture of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, women, they don't like them. Kids, it doesn't matter. They never like a picture of themselves. They always find something wrong.
Yes.
My eyes are, this, that, my hair, whatever. So for you to be able to ask someone, how they want to be seen, and for them to, kind of give you that information, and you be able to put that in a photograph, that's a pretty awesome skill.
It's an awesome gift. It's an awesome privilege, really. And it takes time. It isn't usually a 5-minute conversation. I mean, there's just such emotion to it. And it's a little bit different for women, because women, generally speaking, are trained from a very young age that being looked at is everything. Like, how we look is super important. But seldom is the question presented, well, what is it about you that you want people to know? What's important to you? How do you want to be seen? Is far less important in society than how they're supposed to look. Air quotes huge, supposed to look. Mm-hmm. So, it is an emotional conversation, and it's an honor that they would entrust me with it. An honor, truly.
I was wondering, is there any time that you have to coach them through answering that question?
That's a great question. Yes, because the immediate reaction goes to, well, I'd like to look younger, I'd like to look thinner, and it just automatically goes to the outside, which I'm not saying is unimportant. I'm not saying that at all. But in my experience, once they recognize how beautiful they are as a person, it just shows on the outside. If you flip that around, it doesn't always work. So you can try to make somebody look beautiful, but if they feel insecure and they feel terrible about themselves, it's not the same. Yeah. It's not easily reversed. So yes, there's a lot of, I don't know if it's coaching. It's a lot of listening and just a lot of questions and trying to be tender and respectful with them and going deeper. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. And then from that, eventually it does come out. Yeah. But that's a really good question. And often the question is less about, so if I were to ask 10 women, what's your favorite feature of yourself? I would say probably 9 out of 10 would say, ugh, and they'd have to think and think. But if I were to say, what's your least favorite? They'd be like, oh, how long do you have? So just to get them start talking, sometimes that works. And then just bringing it back around to what I see as being beautiful in them.
Would you say, let's just take, say, a 20-year-old, say a 40-year-old, say a 50-year-old, those three. What is the differences you see when you start working with people asking those questions? Because I would think 20-year-old might be, more, I'm going to say superficial, but I don't really mean that literally. I mean, just they're worried about how they look, what people think. 40-year-old, yeah, I care about how I look, but in the 50-year-old's like, hey, this is me. I am what I am. It is what it is,
I wish that were true. I wish the last part were true with women of all ages, but it starts pretty young, Roy. The indoctrination of young girls. So by the time a woman is in their 20s, they've had 20 years of that training of what we see as superficial as being the priority. And they might tell themselves intellectually, I mean, they know, these women are bright women, they know that that is not the most important thing, but it's this constant battle. So here's a funny story. When I was shooting weddings, one of my brides, who was in her 20s, who was beautiful, Barbie beautiful, really beautiful, she was emotional because she just knew she would not look good in her wedding pictures. And that is how I got into portraits, because I realized no one is immune to this. No one. That pressure, that self-degradation is across the board. So I gifted her a portrait sitting, and we just played, and she went from this nervous, anxious, beautiful person to, by the time we were done with the sitting, she was outside. This is in downtown St. Louis. Outside in the street, flitting around in her dress because she was seen. Now, she hadn't even seen the images, but she just felt seen. And unfortunately, whether you're talking about a 12-year-old or a 70-year-old, that pressure it's just there. And does it get worse? Yeah, often it does. Often it does get worse. But 50, 60, 70, they're still concerned about looking younger, thinner, you name it. Whatever problems they had before, they're still there. Unless they've addressed them, they're still there.
Kind of reminds me of my mother-in-law, because she is very attractive. And she's one of these that she has to have perfect makeup, perfect clothes, everything. And she wouldn't even walk out and go in the mailbox unless she was dressed. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
And when she was 60, she looked better than a lot of 40-year-olds.
Wow.
I mean, but she's very photogenic. I mean, she, like I said, she's really attractive, but she was just that way. That was just how she was,
Yeah.
And of course she's in a nursing home now, but still. But I mean, she was just one of those women that was always attractive. Like I say, when she was 60, she looked better than a lot of 40-year-olds.
Did she know that? Did she believe that about herself?
She kind of gave me the impression that she did the best she could, but she still doubted if it was the best. Does that make sense?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, I will work with people who on the outside even seem a bit vain, because it's part of the training too. And I say training, and obviously it's just the subliminal messages, but when you really get down to it, they still they still get really nervous and anxious. I mean, their whole body language will sort of turn on them, and they get nervous and they just want to disappear. And my heart goes out to them. So I get to show them everything I see that's beautiful, everything, whether it's their strengths or their vulnerability, whatever it is. And it's such an honor.
And we did talk about that too, because as you're saying, Roy, you're like a 20-year-old versus a 40 to 50-year-old. But understand that our society today is even more hard on, like it used to be that once you got to a certain age, then just be comfortable with yourself. You're just going to get older. That's it. But now with cosmetic surgery, with Botox, with this, which has come out really big in the last 20 years, probably 30, but mostly in the last 20 years, it's making a lot. I mean, you look at Jane Fonda, and let's say that there's an 80-year-old that's really worried about her looks, just looks at Jane Fonda because I want to look like that, but I don't have the money to. And it's so external.
Yes.
And they're not looking for the internal. What I try and do, and just quickly, is I try and look at pictures of women who are my age that I find absolutely attractive, who have not done anything. I mean, I'm getting wrinkles like crazy, and I look at them and go, wow, she's beautiful. Instead of trying to say, I don't need to look younger. There's women my age and in their 60s and 70s are absolutely gorgeous, which is why I love Lisa, because that's what she's doing. She's creating that in portrait format to say, don't have to look at society to say if you're beautiful or not, as long as you look at the mirror and look at other women and go, you know what? Aging isn't an awful thing.
Right. And look at who you are.
Yes.
That's really the thing. Like, who are you?
Yes.
Because whose standard are we talking about anyway, as far as what is physically beautiful? But if you can be kind of in touch and aware of the beauty of who you are, that really does reflect in your portrait. It really, really does. And part of that, the how do you want to be seen, is even in personality. So I think I was telling you, Lorianne, on your podcast that there was this young woman that I was photographing, and she's young, she's a yoga instructor, she seemed really outgoing. But in talking with her, it became clear that she was an introvert living in an extrovert world. So she was acting the way she thought 20-somethings should act. And when I found out who she really was, it totally changed the way I thought she should be photographed. Because she shouldn't be this bubblegum 20-year-old. She was like this old soul. Like, she wanted to wear her grandmother's very simple cotton wedding dress. And she was just this gentle, quiet person. So I got to photograph her that way. And if I had done it the way I thought she should have been when I first met her, it would have been false. It would not have represented who she is. So that's the question. How do you want to be seen? Who really are you? And sometimes it's like facets, right? You've got a bunch of different parts of yourself, and all of it should be seen. And again, to be able to reflect that back. I just can't even imagine a better career than that. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And I do want to qualify when I said that those pictures that I saw of the women that I admire, it's what you were saying though. There's something more, like it's in their eyes, it's in their smile, it's in, and what you capture type of thing. It may not be traditional beauty, but it's beauty. Yes. in that. And so that's why I love what you do, because that's what you create out of somebody. So
thank you. I love it too. And like you said, Roy, guys too. Guys have their insecurities, and it's just not as, I don't think it's talked about as much, but to get to show guys how great they are too and who they are, that's just fantastic.
Well, it's interesting because, I think we're talking about eyes and smile, just to go, Lorianne. I've seen women that just have the most beautiful eyes, or smile. And I've seen some that have both. And it's just like, it's incredible when you look at a woman and you see that smile and those eyes, and it just kind of mesmerizes you. It just draws you to them. You're just like, oh my gosh, I want that gal. She's got to really be something special,
Mm, beautiful.
when you see that, because I know, like, guys, when you're 20 years old, you want that really beautiful girl, a nice body and all that, but like for me personally, when you get older, it's more about what's inside. It's the heart.
Bingo. That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah. And that isn't to say that wanting to look beautiful is bad. I think it's normal. So it's not to judge people who want makeup, who want Botox or whatever you want to do. Go do what you want to do, whatever. But for my part, I just want to show you how beautiful you are, not just how beautiful you look. Because there's an example. There's a woman that I photographed. She's a grandmother. I mean, she's just this cute little grandmother. But I photographed her with her two daughters and her two granddaughters, and she suddenly became the matriarch. She became the center of their universe. Just like that. Just because she was surrounded by other young women and women that she loved and had a part in raising. And that became how she wanted to be seen. And it changed everything. Yeah. That's actually a big motivation. I'm going to be doing, hopefully, if it's safe, be doing a road trip, incorporating generation shoots and telling stories of multi-generation women. That would be such a
Oh,
dream for
that would
me.
be fantastic.
Yeah, I think so too.
Absolutely.
I think so too. I mean, this, like you said before you started recording, everyone has a story. And if you can get 3, 4 generations in one room, and just the love and the energy and even the weirdness, the dynamics that come with families, it's all part of the story, isn't it? I mean, even
It
the
is.
tension and the eye rolls and everything else, it's all part of the story. So to create their portraits and their video, kind of a testimonial of their own lives together. Yeah. So that's a project I'm working on.
Well, when I was a kid growing up, with the family all got together after church on Sunday at my grandmother's house. I mean, I was cousins, aunts, uncles, the whole. I mean, it was like 5,000 people, right? So, and not really at the time, you don't really ever appreciate stuff when you're a kid, but sitting there, them telling all those stories about each other, their parents, their grandparents, the stuff they did, you know, that history, you know, and you
Yeah.
think, gosh, I wish I would have written that down. I wish I would have had my grandmother, like now you got video. Hey, just sit there and just do a little video and say, tell me about X. And, so
Yeah.
you have that and pass it down to your kids, you know, that would be amazing. Like what you're talking about, that'd be wonderful.
I think so too. Yeah, there's just such power in our history. And I think because of the of phones having cameras, they're so ubiquitous, we sort of lose the value of those things because it's easy to take snapshots.
Mhm.
But what do you do with all of those? What do you do with the videos, with the stories? So to be able to have them as treasures that you can pass down, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And you think of it, that wasn't that many generations ago that there would be a portrait, either a painting or a photograph of the matriarch of the family, and everyone knew this was my mom, my grandmother, and you knew that there was a story. It was like an anchor.
Mhm.
And now we have family portraits absent of mothers. Like, it's sad. It's really sad. And if you ask those same moms who were afraid to be in front of the camera, how would it feel for you to have a photo with your mom, or of your mom? And of course, they want that. But there's just that anxiety of being part of being photographed. And I get it. Believe me, I am not mocking anyone. I so sympathize and empathize with it. So it's part of why I love doing it, because I understand the pain to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But help them get past that pain.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you're able to help them get past that pain and give them a product that they're happy with, that they
Yes.
never thought they would ever have.
You're not wrong. It's true. I mean, the number of women who would say, "Oh no, not me, not me," and then they hold this framed print, and they realize, "Oh, this is me," and yeah. So
How many have you brought to tears?
More than I haven't, honestly. Yeah. And myself too. It is an emotional thing for me too, to be able to see the transformation, particularly because, as I stated earlier, they transform in front of me before they have even seen the results. They haven't even seen the image. They haven't even left the studio. So it's simply the power of being seen in a respectful, loving state. And to know that no one's there to judge them.
Mm-hmm.
No one's there to even judge them. Like I said, if they want to look thinner, if they want to look younger, that's fine. That's fine. We can do that. That's fine. You know, if you want a makeup artist, that's fine. We'll bring them in too. We'll do whatever you want. We'll make it a spa day. Just let me show you your beauty. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
And what a legacy too for those families. Like it really is a legacy. In all fairness, I mean, I go visit my parents. My mother's got her great grandmother, sorry, her grandmother and her mother up on the wall in those black and white photos, and I just absolutely adore them. I take pictures of them so I can have them myself.
Yes.
It might be, you know, it's horrible to say, but some people say, what would you like as your inheritance? I want the pictures.
Yeah,
You know?
isn't that true? And that's what I
Yeah.
call them, legacy sessions. They're legacy prints that you
Yeah.
will pass down. Yeah. We've just sort of forgotten it again because of the ease with which we can take snapshots. I think that we've sort of forgotten the value of an actual portrait.
And how many get lost in what you can't see here, but that they just
Isn't it
get
true?
lost. They just disappear.
That's right.
They're in your phone. You upload them into Google Sky or Cloud or wherever, and
It's true.
you go through them, and there's so many of them, but you don't take them out. You don't print them. You might share them, but then they're gone. So I love this. Yes, and you know that I'm one of your biggest fans anyway. And every time that I speak to you and the way you speak, I always end up with tears in my eyes. I just think it's because of the beauty of it, because of what you do.
Thank you.
Well,
Well, hopefully you'll be part of the road trip there, Lorianne.
the thing is, in talking to you, I can feel your empathy and your, you know, how it really affects your feelings. I mean, it's not just, hey, I'm gonna take a picture of that, here you go. I mean, you're way more than that. It shows just talking to you.
Thank you.
It's easy.
That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I told you, Lisa.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
It really is. It's a gift, and there's like I said, I'm very honored to have met you, and honored to have you on here because you're one of those people that you speak from your heart and you can hear it.
Thank
Definitely.
Thank you both. That's very high praise. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lorianne, you and your daughter, I mean, wouldn't that be a portrait session? Right? Right?
And my mom, hopefully by the
Yes.
time you get here, like she's pretty strong right now, so that would be awesome.
She's up there too? You're all in
My
the
mother
same
is
area?
still alive. She's
I mean-
86, so she's right up in this area.
Perfect. We'll have to just make it happen then. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Girls' day out.
Right? Right? Yeah, that's really cool. So I have my little studio. It's kind of unassuming, but we can do that. We can have a bunch of just friends. They get together and we bring in makeup artists and hairstylists and champagne and whatever you want and just hang out and create beautiful portraits. It's just such a great experience. Yeah. I know, how fun. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to lie, but I really love creating it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Lorianne, you need to do that. I know that would mean the world to you.
Yeah, I would. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
You should do that.
We will make it happen. And Roy, what about your mother-in-law and your wife?
Well, my mother-in-law's in a nursing home, unfortunately, and she's 92.
Oh,
And
But your mom,
my mom's 87. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom gets around. She's doing good. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't say because someone's in a nursing home, it excludes them from it. I mean, the family might still want their portraits, together. But
here we go.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this, Roy.
If my mother-in-law knew what was going on, she wouldn't be happy. No,
Oh, well, that's totally different then. Yeah,
you're not going to take a picture of me like this.
I get it.
You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
get it.
mean?
I do. Yeah, I really do get it. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, uh, she was very attractive,
Nice.
and her and my father-in-law, they were the perfect couple. I mean,
Oh,
when they're photographed together, I mean, it's just like a model, two models. I mean,
wow.
yeah.
Is that what made them the perfect couple, or did they get along that well too?
Oh,
I was
they were
thinking,
just good people. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're just kind of they had a special relationship. They were married over 60, I think it was 62 years when my father-in-law passed away.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah,
And yours is coming up on 50, you said.
yeah, the 25th will be my 50th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an
Uh,
accomplishment.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I gave Barbara the best 50 years of her life. What can I say?
There's that Texas man. Oh, goodness.
Well, if she was here, she just roll her eyes and go, whatever.
you would.
Would she?
She's awesome.
That's her favorite saying. Well,
Whatever.
whatever. So, Lisa, how can our listeners reach out to you?
Everything is Lisa Arnold Photography, except for my podcast, which is How Do You Want to Be Seen? So, Lisa Arnold Photography on Facebook, Instagram. There's the dots in between on Instagram, so lisa.arnold.photography. And then my website, Lisa Arnold Photography. It's all the same.
And I really do recommend that any of our listeners go there and check out some of those portraits. Are just absolutely beautiful and really different. You know, it's some of the stuff that I've seen. It's not your usual portraits, which is just absolutely beautiful. So highly
Thank you.
recommend visiting.
Thank you, Lorianne.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks
you
again,
both.
Lisa. Honor to have you here again. We'll definitely be keeping in touch. I think I'll need to get you back on to my other podcast as well, just because
Oh,
you're very inspirational. So thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you both. And Roy, again, it was nice meeting you.
No, it was a
And happy
pleasure.
anniversary.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you, and you are a special person. You really are.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you both. It was nice spending time with you.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Likewise.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.